It's the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Welcome to another production here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, where it is our mission to try to bring you some news you could use. Today is no exception to that rule. Follow me on X at the Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And do visit our website at obnradio.com for our 24-hour stream. With all that being established, let us jump into today's episode. We got a lot to discuss. What's scheduled over the weekend. The Andre Dawson Classic will be in Florida this weekend. Prairie View and other ball clubs will be down in the Sunshine State to get things off and running. The second HBCU featured classic in the second consecutive weekend. And we'll talk about the pros and the cons about that. Also, what a big weekend we got ahead for Prairie View basketball, both on the men and women's side of things. And we'll also talk about something that I think that has been long overdue, and it is finally letting its presence be felt. Plus, we have our final football game of this technical 23-24 season. We'll have that and a whole lot more on the table for you. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with today's episode. It's that time of year again. The Prairie View Athletic Club, in support of Prairie View Athletics, will be having their annual raffle ticket fundraising event where you have a chance to win $1,500 or $250 in gift cards. You can get raffle tickets for $4, or you can get a book of 10 for $35. You will also get a chance to show your domino experience for the first annual domino fundraiser for the Prairie View Athletic Club in partnership with the Panther Support Network. That will be on the campus of Prairie View A&M University during the weekend of spring football, purple and gold game, in addition to the PV relays. So it's a whole lot in store for you, where you can get a chance to show your support both ways: the annual fundraising raffle event and the first annual domino event for the Panther Support Network. For more information, please feel free to get in contact with Mr. Greg Austin. He can be reached at 713-562-8181. You can also reach out to Dino Robertson at 713-417-2090. And welcome back to the Open Mic Broadcast Network. The radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, here with you. Just want to remind you there are a couple of events coming up where you can support Prairie View Athletics and have a little fun at the same time. There will be 2 golf tournaments coming up in the month of May. The first weekend will feature the Panther backers and their annual golfing event, which will be in Houston, Texas. And on Memorial Weekend, the Panther Club will have their second annual golf tournament in the city of Hempstead. Be sure to stay tuned here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network for the opportunity for you to join in on the fun and support Panthers athletics. As we mentioned before the break, we have the Legacy Bowl, which will be this weekend. It's the final football game for HBCU athletes to display and showcase their talents, to hopefully get an opportunity to go to the next level. The game is this weekend. Although the hard work and everything has already been put in through the preparation for this game, going through all the drills and the skill sets that can pretty much elevate their stock, if you would, for the upcoming draft. So that game will be on Saturday. And if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be a 3 p.m. Central Time, and it should be very interesting to see how all of these things come out. In the local HBCU voice, Rob J. of Jackson State will be in on the commentary for that particular game. So be sure to check that out over the course of the weekend. Other things that'll be coming up, of course, my favorite time of the year, we have baseball season that officially started off last week, and prior to that, we had the start of softball. This weekend, the Prairie View A&M University Panthers will be in a tournament hosted by Houston Christian University, and they'll be in action today taking on Kansas City. If I'm not mistaken, that first pitch for Lady Panthers will be at 1 p.m. Central Time, and they'll play a game today and a doubleheader. No, it'll be a doubleheader today for the Panthers taking on Kansas City. They'll play another game on Saturday to match up against Kansas City. And if I'm not mistaken, they'll play against Houston Christian on the weekend tournament as well. Of course, last week the Panthers were on the East Coast, well, kind of East Coast, but in Georgia, taking on East Coast teams, came out 2-3 over the course of the weekend. And on the baseball side of things, the Panthers will be in Florida for the Andre Dawson Classic. Now, this Classic had been held in New Orleans for quite some time, but what better way to relocate that event in Florida when Andre Dawson, the Hawk, did attend FAMU. So you'll have FAMU, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Prairie View participating in that Andre Dawson Classic. Now, with that being said, it is a great thing to have these HBCU showcases, just like we had at the Cactus Jack last weekend, which, by the way, Prairie View did go undefeated in that Cactus Jack tournament. The only discrepancy that I would have with that is that, yes, you're highlighting and showcasing your HBCU programs, but they're beating up on each other instead of taking an opportunity to maybe have 4 teams from the HBCU circuit host 4 teams from up north, maybe considered a bit up in competition to give you a better RPI ranking, a better gauge of what you have to compete with as you get ready for your conference play. And I believe that could be a win-win situation, in particular when you have these 2 events. You have the Cactus Jack, which is in Texas, and then the Andre Dawson Classic, which is in Florida. And you can strategically feature some teams from maybe the eastern side of the conference and the western side of the conference to host some teams from up north who are looking for opportunities to get some competition in. They have it already preset in their budgets to travel south to get these games in due to the inclement weather that is occasionally and normally going on this time of the year. So you got to start somewhere, and I'm truly digging that, understanding that, but just something I would like to see with a little wrinkle. And this can build toward your potential regional play, because somebody is going to represent the conference when you go. And even if you played other HBCU programs such as the MEAC or what used to be part of the MEAC baseball group, that you can get these games in instead of beating up on each other within conference play. And speaking of outside conference play, the Panthers this week faced off against the University of Houston. Not a great performance for the Panthers. They ended up losing by the score of 27-1, and it was just some adjusting more than one way as far as pitching and timely hitting for the Panthers. So hopefully they'll get off the ground and running this weekend from the Andre Dawson Classic. And speaking of classics, as I mentioned, baseball has been a passion since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. And it is so fulfilling and so exciting to know and understand that the EA Sports, along with Major League Baseball, have partnered up with the Negro League Hall of Fame or Historic Museum out of Kansas City, which, by the way, I've had the luxury of attending on more than one occasion, even done a show from up there. Just a wonderful, wonderful deal where they're going to include with the MLB show video game Negro League teams and stories to keep the history and the legacy alive for these historic baseball players, teams, programs, and just a societal way of how baseball was back once upon a time and how it's trying to make that resurgence of coming back. So it's a great opportunity. Hopefully it will open some more eyes and spread its blueprint across even more people. With all the people that are into gaming these days, it should be a very uplifting and attention awareness for this program and this adventure to take off even further. I was fortunate enough to grow up hearing the stories from a James Cool Papa Bell in St. Louis, telling some of these old legendary stories, and actually sitting at his doorstep and just listening to him tell these stories for what seemed to be hours, but it didn't feel like it at the time. And it's just truly uplifting for me to see and hear that these things are making the swings that they're making to be included in today's game of baseball. Yes, baseball has somewhat dropped as far as African American participation. They've made it into a what they call a social club status with this elite and travel baseball, but hopefully with the MLB implementing some of these programs within the inner cities and getting more people involved to get back toward the game that has been so near and dear for me as an individual. So when you really look at this thing, baseball is one of those sports where literally anyone can play it. Doesn't really matter about your size, your strength, nor your speed, even though that would help give you some boost. But it's not like football. It's not like basketball where there's just an obvious wear and tear on you due to size and strength. This baseball is the game I call the neutralizer, and you can fit within your skill set, play within your talent, and still be somewhat competitive. So it's truly exciting to see some of these initiatives that have taken place to resurge the movement of African Americans in the game of baseball. And I know I'm baseball bound on today's episode, but we do have a huge basketball competition for the Prairie View A&M University Panthers and other Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball programs. But in particular about the Panthers this weekend, they'll be at Arkansas Pine Bluff and Mississippi Valley on Monday. The Panthers are in a must-win situation on both the men and women's side of the hardwood at that Pine Bluff competition. Now, with this Pine Bluff competition you got coming up, we'll start off on the women's side of things. Right now, the women are in the number 8 spot, and Pine Bluff is in that number 3 spot. Now, we know that Pine Bluff had an implosion over this past weekend, and there's still, I guess, a waiting to see what will happen. Now, from my analysis of everything, although there was some fisticuffs in that contest, but they were on the one opponent's bench. They wasn't crossed over to where it was a team brawl. It was an in-house brawl. Now, technically, from my understanding, the conference really don't have anything to do with that. That's going to have to be something addressed within, and we don't know exactly how Pine Bluff will address that. Now, we do know under normal circumstances there will be some suspensions coming, but due to the nature of the importance of this game, not only for Prairie View, but for the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, do you stagger the suspensions? By that I mean, do you suspend one player for one game and then another player for the next game on that Monday against Texas Southern? Or do you suspend both players at the same time? If I'm Pine Bluff, I'm going to stagger that suspension. And I would look at my stats, records, and see exactly what is and what's not. And then whoever I think is the weaker link against the matchup, I'll suspend them for that game. Now, they might call that gamesmanship, but that's something that I'll be looking to see if anything happens toward that direction. Now, when it comes to the men's side of things, the Panthers are in a very, very difficult spot right now. They're right now number 10. And if I'm not mistaken, Pine Bluff, last we checked, we're at that number 9 or 8 spot. One of the two. But I know that the Panthers are behind Pine Bluff. And they got to have this game, both the men and the women, just to stay marginally close for this final stretch. And another game for both that men and women's situation will be against Alcorn. Those are the only 2 games out of the 5 games remaining that can really help them jump forward, pending that the other teams just stay status quo, unless they just bottom out toward the end of this final stretch. But the Panthers got to pick it up on Saturday. It's just absolutely no room for struggle, no room for doubt. They've got to come out blazing on Saturday, and we're going to be monitoring extremely close to see how things come. Don't forget you can follow us on X at the Mike Prince Show and keep up with all of the data and the information that'll come across, not only for the basketball games, but for the baseball games and the softball games throughout the course of the weekend. And speaking of the weekend, don't forget to join us on Saturday morning for The Zone. We come with you with some local high school and collegiate information about what's going on throughout the world of athletics. And so it's just so much going on, and I am so giddy right now with this time of the year. We do have some tennis. The Panthers will be taking on Oral Roberts this weekend, and there's so much going on, as we mentioned, time after time again. But for right now, I am going to exit stage left. My time has come where it's time for me to say adios for today, but never forgotten. Do follow me on X at the Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Follow us on the website at obnradio.com for our 24-hour streaming content. I've got to go. My time is far spent. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, and until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.